Not very long back, the Sanatan Dharma, or the Hindu Dharma, spread from the borders of Iran to Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia. Today, it has receded. It has almost disappeared from all those places and has become confined to the Indian subcontinent. And here too, the geographical and demographic recession is in progress. And before long, it will not take many centuries, it will take just decades. And the way the history is proceeding, it is pointing to a very dangerous destination. Now, the question is why this happened. We have studied the accounts of the foreign travelers who came to visit India, and one of them says that in India he didn't find one single person, man, who was dishonest, and one woman who was not of a good character. Such a sweeping remark by a traveler coming from outside. Today, you cannot say the same thing about India. Max Muller, you read, and he says that if there was any heaven in the world ever, it was in India and India alone. But that is the India of the past. That is Hinduism of the past. After the new faiths sprang, Islam, Christianity, they had the ideology of expansion. They converted people, and through political power, they spread their faith. First, it came in the form of Muslim barbaric invasions who plundered the temples, broke all the idols, and then killed lakhs of people. It is on record. Many of them went back without ruling India. Simply for looting and killing people, they came and went away. But some stayed back. And they were a fistful of people, not too many. After all, how many people can come from distant places? They come in thousands or maximum lakhs. And here, crores of people were there. But that goodness of people of India, that goodness of Hindu, the typical Hindu, became his weakest point, being a noble person, tolerant person, non-violent person. Mahabharata makes a very wise statement. Saeva dharma so adharmo desh kale pratishtita. Something which is very good at one time becomes bad in another situation, another time, another place. Saeva dharma so adharmo desh kale pratishtita. Dharma becomes dharma at one time. You were good, non-violent, you were tolerant, that was dharma. But that, when the Muslim invaders came, a fistful of people everywhere, because of their different ideology, violent ideology, they crushed through the power of sword the Buddhists, the Hindus, the Parsis in Iran, and they started ruling this part of the world. Now, the question is not just history. If you see today, and you ask the Hindus about their faith, they don't know much about their faith. They don't know the rudiments, ABC about their faith. Why so? They do not know why the festivals are celebrated. They do not know what are the basic scriptures of Hinduism. They do not have, 99% of them, surveys reveal that they don't have any scripture in their homes. Whereas in every Muslim home, you have a Quran Sharif. In every Christian home, you have a Bible. Why so? 100 years back, before independence, every household had got a Gita and a Ramayana at least, if not the Vedas and the Upanishads. And they studied regularly. And when you studied the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana regularly, you will certainly become a noble person, good person. But they lost faith in their faith. They lost respect for their faith. They lost love for their faith because they were brainwashed. Now, how did it happen? Try to understand in brief so that you can find a solution now. What happened? Initially, the Muslims came here. They came, killed in lakhs. genocides, and through the power of source converted the Hindus. Now, this was one historical fact, but that is not all. Then came the British. They were cleverer than the Muslims, came here from outside. They did not use just sword for converting you, or they found a better way of doing it. Don't convert externally first, convert internally first. Convert at the mental level. So they changed the curriculum. They created many narratives. They focused on the weak areas of Hinduism like caste and untouchability, as if this was all about Hinduism. So the problem to be addressed today is that if the Hindus do not develop pride and love for their faith, and they stand behind their faith, India will no more be the homeland of Hindus in the decades to come. Not very far away. It will not take centuries. Everybody knows about that. Researchers are telling about this possibility. Therefore, situation has to be addressed. And the basic situation to be addressed is that the Hindus have to be made aware of their scriptures. It has to be ensured that each of the Hindu home has got the basic scriptures at home, at least Gita and Ramayana, these two things to begin with. How do you ensure that? Who ensures that? And the knowledge, the basic knowledge of why a festival is celebrated, who was Rama, who was Krishna, who was, other Bhishma and other people, a good knowledge about them, and what are the scriptures, the scriptural literacy, how to bring these things in India and among the Hindus today, that is the question. Now, in doing this, there are two principal ways. One is that the government should thoughtfully introduce a paper on the Indian culture in the curriculum. This is to be done by the government. Shall we sit and wait for the government to act, or shall we do something ourselves? That is the question. We should start doing ourselves also. The government may or may not act. What do we do then? You will find that there's one institution still living in the country, and that is the Hindu temple. There are various estimates of how many temples are there in the country, because there is no provision of counting them in the census records. But it is one of the survey I saw that says that there are 20 lakh temples, small and big, in the country, which means that of the 6 lakh villages that India has, every village is supposed to have on average 3 temples. In practice, you will see that every village has either a temple in the village or a temple in the neighborhood. So this institution is still somehow living. This is also true that most of the temples, private temples, have been practically abandoned because of many reasons. One is that they don't have a purohit or a priest because they can't pay the priest. The people who built the temple, my grandfather or his father, they also gave 5 acres of land or so for maintenance of the temple. That was misappropriated by his progeny, their progeny, grandchildren, grandchildren, and therefore there is no way the rural temples can sustain today, generally speaking. This is true that in some of the temples there is a great footfall. You find it difficult to enter the temple, say Badrinath temple, Jagannath Puri temple, Balaji Tirupati temple, Kashi Vishwanath temple, Banke Bihari temple in Vrindavan, or New Ram temple in Ayodhya. Lakhs of people coming every day. But that is not the real temple image of India. In practice, most of the temples don't have any footfall, or minimal footfall. That cannot sustain the temple. So the temples have to be revitalized. In what way? More than the physical infrastructure improvement, there is a need for a good purohit there. Please remember that the word purohit essentially is a Vedic term and it relates to yajna, fire yajnas. That's the ritual. That's the ancient way of worship. But of the four purusharthas, the four goals of life set by Hindu faith itself, dharma and moksha, the Purohit should not just know how to do yajna. Dharma means a righteous life. So, if a righteous life has to be lived by every Hindu, the priest must be able to tell him what dharma is. What dharma is according to the scriptures. And he should be able to quote the scriptures. But they don't know about that dharma. They are basically performing rituals, either Vedic rituals or Puranic rituals. Nothing much else. So, Purohits have to be trained and retrained and then appointed there. This is one very important thing. Who will do that? Government can't do here. The second question is, apart from Purohits being trained and appointed, how does the scripture reach every home? And free of cost, like Bible and Quran reach free of cost. Every home. Why can't Hindus do it? Are they the poorest people in the world? No, they are not. I went to many places in the world. Very recently, the UK and USA, I found that at both places, I was told the Hindus are among the richest in both the countries. But the third issue is that even if you give free of cost the Gita, copy of the Gita and copy of Ramayana to every household, Hindu household, will they read that? No, they may not read. Again, they will keep it aside and then read other things. So what do you do then? Therefore, you should have the priest active, somebody active to go and inspire them to read the scriptures. How that can be done? Now, there is a model that we have developed theoretically. We are going to practice and try that out also in various places. It's a kind of a pilot project. We are trying to reimagine the temple, Hindu temple. Temples were, I told you, invented in the Treta Yuga according to Bhagavad Purana. They didn't exist before that. It was a great innovation. It was a great innovation, I tell you. And people who criticize this, that temples and idols, they have no idea of what it means really. They should come and see how effective it is as a form of worship. Bhakti, if you're pursuing bhakti, if you watch the idol of Lord Rama, you remember his work, his character, his deeds, and then it can bring tears to your eyes. It can create a surge of emotions within you, which is not possible otherwise, generally speaking, for most people. So it has a purpose, a very pious purpose, the temple and the idol. Those who have not eaten mangoes, how they would know what mango means? They will throw away the mangoes. But in deserts, you don't get mangoes. People in the deserts will not know the beauty and the taste of a mango. Similarly, those who criticize that idol worship is wrong, bad, they are ignorant people. Anyway, let's forget about that. So, how to go about the whole thing? Now, let me tell you the project, what the project is. It's a kind of a pilot project. Let us reimagine a temple. What innovations are further required in a temple? This will be clear when we understand the purpose of a temple. At present, there are two purposes being served at the very best. One is that people come there, if at all they come, they go and have a look at the idols, statues of the deities, of the avatars, and of the Saguna Brahma, Narayana, and they feel good there. The second purpose is ritualistic. They perform certain rituals there, like Rudrabhishek, Vishnu Sahasranam, and then other yajnas, some fire yajnas. So this is the ritualistic side of it. Now, beyond that, the main part, which is dharma, one of the four goals of human life. Dharma means ethical life. What is good, what is bad, what is wrong, what is right, etc. Based on the scriptural knowledge, it has to be reintroduced. For that, apart from training the priests, you should have a small library in the temple. Even a small temple can accommodate at least one or two almirahs. And these one or two almirahs can have the collection of basic scriptures like Mahabharata, like major commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, like 4 or 5 Ramayanas, at least Valmiki Ramayana and Tulsi Ramayana. Kam Ramayana is popular in Tamil Nadu, etc., and Kritivas Ramayana in Odisha, Bengal. So they can be there. Ramayana and Bhagavad Gita are the basic things. Mahabharata comes next. And of course, Vedas and Upanishads, I already told you, must be there. Then at least some of the Puranas must be there. Bhagavad Purana must be there. Shiv Purana must be there. Devi Bhagavad Purana must be there. At least these three, and preferably all the 18 Puranas, but they are not necessary absolutely. In multiple copies, these 3 Puranas can be there so that the Shaivas, the Shaktas, and the Vaishnavas all have access to their chosen scripture. Other popular books like, say, Hanuman Chalisa, the Durga Saptashati, and depending on the local preferences, many other books can be there. So this library in multiple copies, they should be there, and a table and a chair somewhere to where people can take out the books and read them and understand the scriptures. If this is done, and the priest should also study those books, because the mandir is not open, the temple is not open all the time. If there is scope, create a room for meditation. So this is a great addition to the temple structure. If you become a little advanced, go a little further, you can have a smart TV there, separate, not to disturb the temple pious activities, but a little separate, and it can be switched on when the temple is closed. And it should not show anything other than the religious and spiritual videos like Ramayana, Mahabharata, or the training on Moksha Vidya, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Deshwar Dhyanastha Tyag Yoga, Japa Yoga. So these things can be shown there in the time when the temple is closed. A temple can have a set of sports equipment, which the Pujari ji, the priest, should be able to lend for use to children or youth and return it after use. After playing, they should return it. But the condition should be that if they take away these instruments or sports gear, he must also watch before taking or after coming for half an hour or maybe even 15 minutes certain spiritual videos that gives them understanding of the Hindu faith. Then the most important component of this paradigm will be that ideally you have one Purohit for looking after these internal work of the temple, the ritualistic work, the idol worship work of the temple, and issuing the books to the visitors for reading, and say showing the video to the children and youth. This is left to one person. There should be another person in the temple appointed separately, and he may be initially called the Vistarak Acharya, extension worker he is, because he is the person who will say take up, he will be given the task, he will be appointed with the mandate of connecting with 1,000 homes, Hindu homes, and to take a free copy of the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana to every home and deliver it there with proof of delivery. In hilly areas, it may not be 1,000 homes possible, maybe 250 homes or 500 homes. Therefore, depending on the density of population, he should reach out to ideally 1,000 homes, deliver a free copy of Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana, and then visit it frequently. The home should be visited frequently, going and coming by the Pandit ji, that extension worker, Vistarak Acharya Mahoday, who inspires them, asks them, are you reading? He should be able to organize competitions for children and youth and others as to how many slokas, verses they have memorized. Say 51 verses of the Bhagavad Gita for students and children, the beginners, I would say. If they memorize 51 verses, they would get some certificate and some small prize. So then they will become inspired to do that. And when children become inspired, parents have to take interest in them. Similarly, say, telling the children who are not so much interested to remember just 20 verses of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhakti Yoga. That if they memorize this, usually every child can memorize, I tell you, the slightest interest. So that you organize an assembly in some school or maybe in the temple itself and honor them, give them some recognition, give them reward, prizes. And the ones who memorize the whole Bhagavad Gita, 700 shlokas, they should be given bigger prizes, bigger recognition. So honor and some small token prizes will change the whole situation. This man, the Vistarak Acharya, will be more important, I tell you, in terms of productivity and changing the whole scenario. This extension worker, the who should be honorably called Vistarak Acharya. The inner side will be looked after by the Archak or Purohit, whatever you call him. Archak is a better word for today's priest because he is not really Purohit. He doesn't know the Karma Kand of the Vedic side much. He knows a little bit, but not much. So he is better called an Archak, Archana Karne Wala. So this other man, Vistarak Acharya, he should be given targets. And since he is appointed with, say, presume 30,000 rupees salary, a trained and, say, some Shastri, some Acharya, properly trained person, plus a couple of thousand rupees or maybe 5,000 rupees for motorbike going here and there. So this will change the scenario in the entire surrounding of the temple. So this, when you throw a pebble in the water of the pond, what happens? It creates ripples. It's a small stone, small pebble, but you will see round ripples, and the ripple spreads to a wide area. So don't think that 1,000 families that he targets, the person, the extension acharya, will remain confined to 1,000 persons. There will be a ripple effect all around. Now, there should be two textbooks for these priests also, the archak also, and the extension worker. One is one book, small book, maybe just 200 pages on dharma. Quotations from all primary shastras, scriptures. Say Mahabharata is very good areas, whole chapter on dharma. What is wrong, what is right, what is ethical, what is unethical. Manusmriti has got very good collection. They all defame Manusmriti, which has some very bad portions. I agree with them. A few verses that it has got, but otherwise it is wonderful collection of what is dharma, what is adharma, what is punya, what is pap, what is sin, what is virtue. And similarly, Bhagavad Gita is of course the leading one, and other Puranas also have great deal of treasure of on dharma. So a collection of the most chosen stories and the theories on what dharma and what adharma are. 200 pages, good enough to begin with. And then one book on Moksha Vidya, the 10 Royal Roads to Nirvana. If these two books are made available to the priest and the extension workers, and if possible also to the homes, then they will have the time to learn what dharma is, what Sanatana Dharma teaches about how you should live a righteous life, a good life. You keep aside, say one project we have estimated takes around 12 lakhs for 1 year. And just 1 year, then you leave that place. It will take care of itself thereafter. Once you ignite the inflammable material, you leave the place and it burns on its own. If the temple needs some physical infrastructure improvement, like repairing some walls or fencing, or maybe drinking water arrangements, or power backup, for example, the inverters, or maybe CCTV, depending on what is the need of the temple, and keep aside 1 lakh or 80,000 rupees for the temple maintenance. If we don't take care of it now, a great faith, a great civilization, a great religion, which has produced thousands of memorable characters. No other place in the world has produced such great characters ever till date in history, as many as the Sanatana Dharma has produced. Therefore, we must get up, we must arise, we must wake up to save the Sanatana Dharma. in its birthplace at least. And why stop there? Why not go outside and spread there also the good word?